Thanks for all the get well stuff, by the way. You all know who you are. A sincere thank you. Stop it. My dog, oh my god, he won't quit. Excuse me, too. I'm still a little congested. It's not really a flu or anything. I just knock it off. It's been kind of stressful, but anyway, I've been sitting on this for a while, and sorry that I'll skip the matter on the gated communities tonight, but it has been suggested before that I talk about this, and I've sat on this for a little over a year now, thinking about it, with the hopes that the UN could step in and everything would just stop. The basis of my ideals are for peace, humanity, and unity. I've always believed that basically every problem can be solved through peaceful means. For the past few days, I've meditated heavily on this point, and trying to come to some resolve as to how to end this problem. The occasional bleeding heart celebrity will speak out on this, and you may see, from time to time, a single column spot in the newspaper highlighting what Kofi Annan from the UN has recently said about it. I speak of the war in Sudan, aka the Darfur conflict. It seems pretty clear-cut. Rebels from the Darfur region and the Janjaweed going at it. Where it gets murky is the intention of the rebels and why exactly the Janjaweed is fighting them. The rebels may simply be fighting for more recognition from the authoritarian government of Sudan or total secession. In any case, they are being killed en masse. The Janjaweed, to put it in as few words as possible, are working for the Sudanese government. This is rather complicated mainly because the Sudanese government has basically replied to the UN resolution to send in peacekeeping troops with 2 words: fuck you. It is clear that they want the war to continue. In the days after the passing of the latest revolution by the UN to relieve the African Union peacekeeping soldiers already there, they launched a new offensive. This conflict is even classified by the United States government as genocide. Other governments have went as far as to say ethnic cleansing, whatever you would like to call it, and it has killed upwards of 400,000 people. Refugee camps are humanitarian catastrophes, receiving little aid and sometimes attack themselves. This is qualified as the first registered genocide of the century. The Sudanese government is authoritarian, meaning that all decisions, domestic and otherwise, are made by one person, the leader, Umar Hassan al-Bashir, who has been in power since a military coup in 1989. He has repeatedly refused assistance by the UN, and I say assistance in quotations. I have to ask at this point, since when is this okay? Especially when we have Team America World Police fucking around with terrorists, in the laughable war on terror. What happened to removing repressive regimes? Oh, I forgot. They aren't repressive, excuse me. They're genocidal. Huge difference. Throughout history, the world has always looked the other way when a crazy dictator kills thousands, like Slobodan Milosevic, or even millions, like General Mao or Pol Pot. But they just can't stand it when a crazy dictator like Saddam Hussein does whatever it was he was doing. But it certainly wasn't hiding weapons of mass destruction or harboring terrorists or even posing a fucking threat. The genocide of the Iraqi people was back in the 80s against the Kurds who, during the Civil War, were attacking Saddam, and he used gas that we gave him. In any case, no, it shouldn't be tolerated. Anyway, wow. Why is genocide treated like incest? Like no one wants to talk about it. And when it comes up, abortion seems to be a good thing. What the fuck? Although I'm pretty much pro-choice. Besides the point. I realize one thing about it. It is a hypersensitive subject to the West because Sudan is an Islamic country. Iraq wasn't. Well, the leader wasn't a good one anyway. Out of fear of upsetting Muslims around the world, again. I understand such reservations, but that's too fucking bad. I'm tired of hearing UN peacekeeping force. I do believe that the UN holds weight in the world, and I respect them for their peacekeeping efforts. However, the time has come to step in. I am not downplaying, Islam and saying, well, fuck you, it's too fucking bad. I'll get to that. Just bear with me. After heavy thought and consideration, I have reluctantly concluded that military intervention is necessary, not from the UN. A powerful, I mean overwhelmingly powerful, international force should be assembled on the border of Sudan. The UN soldiers are more than welcome to come along, as you will see, and before you think I have digressed from my peaceful roots, I have a theory that it can be pulled off with no bullets. As this no less than 80,000 strong multinational force readies itself, an ultimatum is delivered to al-Bashir. It demands that he not only stop funding the Janjaweed paramilitary forces, but also that he immediately order them to withdraw from a newly declared 100-mile buffer zone along the traditional border of Darfur. I doubt that these demands will be met with the same fuck you as before, but before he is even given time to read the entire thing, he will receive word from his field commanders that this multinational force is now moving along the buffer zone. I'm quite sure at this point that not only he, but the semi-independent leaders of the Janjaweed and the rebel groups of Darfur will tuck their tails in and run. Then what? Then the UN peacekeeping force of 20,000 can do their job, that's what. Displaced peoples will be giving aid, ending the humanitarian crisis, and the multinational intervention force can go home. Every day that the international community sits back and passes resolutions and actually takes al-Bashir's shit, people are dying. The Janjaweed and the Darfur rebels wouldn't fire on such a force. It would be suicide. And with the UN force firmly in place, peace can resume. The limits of diplomacy have been reached with al-Bashir. If he chose to defy the intervention force and fire upon them, he would not only face defeat, but a war crimes tribunal where the UN can say, fuck you back. Possibly even a surgical strike to immediately remove him from power, though I would endorse the former action by the force. Now, does all of this seem idealist? Yes, in most circles it would. But I implore you to explain the logic that says what is going on in Darfur warrants anything less. Why is genocide discussion and action taboo? Because of sensitivity towards a certain religion? Because we are afraid that we might be wrong about what was going on? The numbers are there. Hundreds of thousands of people have died at this point. My placating nature towards your ideals and restraints begins to harden. This is diplomacy. This is humanity deciding when something is wrong and doing something about it. There is a point at which diplomacy must be decided among third parties in the interest of humanity itself. No longer can the celebrities make pleas for action. No longer can Kofi Annan sit on his hands and pass resolutions. Mankind must defend itself against genocide. Am I saying it threatens us all? Yes, not our lives, but it threatens our moral standing. It threatens our ability to ever say that what we are doing is right. It threatens the world with the idea that situations like this occur and there's simply nothing we can do. We can do this. Human beings are dying. Every time you read a press report about a UN officer calling it a catastrophe, every time you look into your child's eyes and hope this will be a better world someday, and every time that you think the world, overall, is a pretty good place and that simple diplomacy can solve all issues, realize that there is something that needs to be done now, not tomorrow and not next weekend. Now is the time that a modern approach to diplomacy be considered. It matters not to me what the rebels want, or al-Bashir's intentions. What matters to me is what is on the conscience of the world as we go into the future. The people in the refugee camps deserve life more than I, for their suffering has paid for their lives over and again. This goes beyond and all around the world. For every persecuted person who has been punished for simply being born a certain color or in a certain place at a certain time. Damn to hell sensitivities to one side or the other. If we can't live like humans and accept others around us as they were born, we deserve nothing. If we can't live like humans and stop the persecution of our fellow man, we deserve nothing. If we can't stop a civil war in an impoverished nation simply by showing, by strong words and strong action, that we want it to stop, then we do not deserve anything.